and you talked about the importance of improved roads and infrastructure. That's been a big issue with Interstate 80 and the debate over whether or not to toll it. What's your plan for improving roads and infrastructure?
Again, we're looking at generating new revenue. I mean, it's not only the interstates that need work, it's the bridges that are on the interstate that needs to work. And you go throughout these towns, and I've had an opportunity to ride throughout most of this district, and the roads throughout the district are no better, no worse than the city of Wilkes-Barre. So it's just not a problem that we're experiencing here in Wilkes-Barre. The road and the roads and infrastructure throughout this district are in desperate need of repair. We need to assist these towns in improving their roads through some type of, whether it's liquid fuel money, increasing them in each municipalities, or going to Washington and trying to increase the stimulus money through our local congressmen to help them improve the roads. But you have infrastructure roads, you have the sewers. I mean, there's a lot of towns here that really need assistance with their road maintenance. I mean, this is northeastern Pennsylvania, and every year we have hard winters.
James Delaney Jr. Had been demoted to captain at one time here in the city of Wilkes-Barre. He's now a fire chief. At the time of the promotion, I don't think he made a comment. People were speculating, I guess he's a relative of the Mustos. I don't know that for sure. Is it something that you can talk about now?
Sure. When I came in, I made several changes. I made a change in the police department, I made a change in the fire department, and I made changes throughout City Hall. I picked who I felt at that time in 2004 who the best individual would be for their respective departments. At that point, unfortunately, Mr. Delaney had not been chosen, and I chose another individual. When the other individual retired, I believe in August of 2008, and I could be wrong with that date, but if I stand corrected, I'd be corrected. But I believe it was during the summer months. We opened it up, and we did a national search, and we interviewed people within the department, and we interviewed the people from outside the department. And Mr. Delaney was chosen as the best candidate at that time about 5 years later. I believe, and I had discussed this with Chief Delaney when I hired him, I believe 5 years ago he was not the right man, and I believe he learned a lot over the 5 years that he went back as a captain in the fire department. And him and I sat down and we spoke. I told him what my vision of the department was, and he told me what his vision was. I said we could work together. The job, if you're interested, the job will be yours. And he's been working out very well with the department, and I have no second doubt, or I'm not second guessing myself. The decision that I made in 2004 was the right decision, and I believe the right decision was just made by bringing him back.
Jay was also demoted from captain down to private, as were other captains were demoted as well. They've been brought back as well.
That was a budgetary problem, budgetary issue, and they filed a grievance, and the arbitrator ruled in their favor.
Other questions from the group at this point? Marcella Shale, I guess. Let's go to Marcella Shale.
Where's she at?
What are your thoughts on? Well, what are you hearing? Number one, as you travel about the district.
What
are your thoughts about how to handle it?
Well, one, we have to make sure that the water is not contaminated. I mean, that's the biggest concern out there right now. What's going to happen to our water? And I believe with modern technology today and the machinery that is available, that it could be prevented. And it's no different than what we went through here in the city of Wilkes-Barre. Nobody likes change, and now change is taking place. We have a new type of fuel that will become available that really not many people know much about. In fact, I believe a lot of people are still learning every day on articles that they're reading. So I think it's the uncertainty of what the future holds, and I think if we can educate the public, and not quite honestly educate the public officials and those that are involved on the pros and cons and what the negative side of that could be, I think people would be better understanding. But I really think the people had not been provided the proper information or maybe the proper education to really make a decision. But it's something that I think it's the future. I think it's going to happen, and we have to make sure that no individual property owners are adversely affected by the drilling that would be taking place. But it's an opportunity for the state to increase their revenue stream in that situation, and I think it's something we really need to strongly look at.
Do you think the state has been responsible in leasing its public lands, state forests, and would you be supportive of leasing more state land?
Well, again, you have to look. I mean, when you look at state lands, I mean, you're driving down the highway and you see a big piece of vacant land that could be state game lands that are really not being utilized. There's a lot of vacant land. It's just an opportunity now for the state to bring in, again, a new source of revenue that can help them during a very difficult financial time. So I'd have to make sure that, one, the land that is being looked at to do this is not going to really have a negative effect on the overall area. I mean, let's say I wouldn't want it to happen in the middle of Kirby Park, which would ruin Kirby Park. But if it's land that's really out of the way and not being utilized, and it's not going to take away from the recreational amenity of the residents and the people that visit that park and the state game lands, then I think it's something we need to really look at.
There are some people that see those vacant pieces of land and want them to remain vacant because they hunt on them.
Right.
Or they use them for recreation, not to the extent that Kirby Park does. I think they might feel differently about drilling for gas on those.
You're always going to have people that are used to doing something every year not want to accept, not be willing to agree with what I just said. And that's why I want to make sure, I mean, if you have one area that's really populated every November with hunting, then we need to look at that. But if it's not being heavily used, then I think you need to look at what's going to be the best for the state.
You said, I believe this was when you were making your announcement that you were running for this office, you referred to Senator Musto as a public servant of impeccable character. That was, of course, prior to the FBI spending an afternoon at his house. He's not been charged with anything. That's not the point of the question. The point of the question is we're hearing that the public's confidence has been shaken in their leaders. And I'm wondering if your confidence has been shaken based on what's happened over the last year and a half.
Well, again, it's been a very difficult year. People paint things with a broad brush, but I can tell you that everything I've done in the last 6.5 years has been by the rules and the regulations, and that's the way I run city government. My employees know how I am, and I told them that the first day I met with the department heads and the employees. I have 2 rules. Do not lie to me, and do not steal from me. And if there's a problem, tell me the problem, we'll find a solution. We're all going to make mistakes. And I believe that the employees lived up to that, and they know that if there is a mistake made, they can come and see me, and we'll find the solution to that problem.
And I don't mean to be disrespectful, but we're asking these questions of everyone who sits down with us for the last year and a half or so because of the culture that apparently exists in the area with the businesses, certain businesses that feel they can approach elected officials and offer them something. Has anyone ever approached you or a member of your administration with an offer that you felt was a bribe or that you felt was unethical?
No. In fact, when I first became the mayor, I made it known that any respective vendor doing business with the city of Wilkes-Barre would not see me. And at first people thought I was standoffish, but this was my way of sending a message that we're going to do things the right way. They would put their bid in with the proper department, and that we had a plan in place. And a lot of our bids are sealed bids that are open up at public gatherings. But and I don't want people to think I wasn't touchable, but I did not in my 6.5 years now as mayor, 6.5, yeah, have any direct dealings with any vendor that would come to me or come to the city to do work for the city of Wilkes-Barre. They would put them in with their respective department where they were dealing with, and then ultimately the department heads would handle it. That was the responsibility that I gave to my department heads. They're running their departments. If there was a problem, come see me. But I do not deal directly with vendors or contractors.